If you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a member today. Members get early access to videos, access to all the stream VODs, and exclusive access to emotes as well. So if you'd like to support the channel, become a member today. What's up everybody, it's Hunter Avalone here, back with another video. And today we are going to be looking at the final boss of Christianity. Now that might be a little bit dramatic. I don't know if this guy is the final boss or not, but he is definitely a pretty big voice in the Christian community. So I don't know about you, but I myself am very curious to hear some of this guy's arguments. Are they going to be brand new, just completely different? Are they going to blow my little atheist mind out of the water? Or are they going to be the exact same repetitive, boring talking points and arguments that we've all heard 100,000 times now from Christians in desperate cope mode? I don't know because I haven't actually watched this yet. So why don't you buckle in, hang on to your butts, and let's get started. So this guy's channel is called Cross-Examined. He has 544,000 subscribers. And his most recent video is on an LGBT person confronting him and calling him a bigot.
Why do you say that if I'm going to be a Christian again, then I need to repent from being LGBTQI+? And
it says Frank never said this. Wouldn't Frank, the Christian guy who's being asked this question right now, wouldn't he believe that in order to be a true Christian, you would need to denounce and repent from homosexuality if you believe that homosexuality is a sin?
And then accept this narrow version of the gospel. That to me is like conversion therapy, and the UN and all these other major medical organizations in the US and around the world have called that torture. So for you to stand here and to defend that, that's pretty messed up.
I would definitely like some evidence that he actually said that.
There is no objective moral standard unless some kind of God exists.
Oh my word. What? Okay. So far we're gonna put one down on the bingo chart for predictable cliche arguments. I don't care if there's not an objective morality. They always say this as if it's a big own. There doesn't need to be objective morality for morality to still exist. That's the first thing. It's just how we reach moral conclusions. What do we base that on? That's the discussion that's actually valuable to have. Not just kicking our feet back and being like, well, God said that slavery is okay and gay is bad, so we'll just let this guy dictate our morals. Hiccup? No, that's the lazy, cheap cop-out, okay? Usually a good way to start for morality is, at the very least, just asking yourself, does this thing result in a harm? Does it cause a harm to me? Does it cause a harm to society? Say I'm perpetuating a bunch of harm on society, even for my own benefit. Maybe I'm benefiting temporarily, but the more harm that I perpetuate, the more that everybody else perpetuates that harm, the more likely society is entirely to just crumble. And if society goes down, you're going down with it. So it is in our best interests, all of our best interests, to, at the very least, at first, think about things in the sense of generally, life is preferable to death, health is preferable to sickness, pleasure is preferable to pain. When all of society thrives and benefits, you do also. It's in our best interest to be generally moral, at the very least, not causing intentional, constant harm on others.
Unless some kind of God exists, everything is just a matter of human opinion. And so when you hold up a...
So what? So is God, by the way. Everything is just a matter of opinion. Unlike the Bible, we certainly haven't had debates for thousands of years about what certain Bible verses actually mean. Like, it's your opinion that God has given us morality. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to just check off the predictable cliche.
Sign that says that certain people have treated LGBTQ people wrongly.
Well, they have, and there's so much evidence for it.
Mav, you might be exactly right about that. But
I know I am. I have experiences and data to back it up.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that people have treated you poorly.
I wonder which group of people are the least accepting of LGBTQ people in America. Certainly wouldn't be, white evangelicals, right?
But
you don't have to go on and spread these bigoted viewpoints on YouTube and Facebook like you do. It's just a bunch of misinformation. You have no idea. You have blood on your hands.
The guy debating the Christian needs to chill out.
Okay, Mav. Do you want to have a conversation, or you just want
No, I really just would like you to just apologize and turn around and see that
okay.
what you're doing is harmful.
That's an instant L, by the way. Never confront somebody and be like, I just want you to apologize. If they're a public figure on stage, you're in the audience with a little microphone, don't be like, I'm not here to actually have a discussion. I'm just here to get your apology. Just don't do that. Don't put yourself in that position where you're only going to look bad and give this guy an easy W.
There's only harm if God exists. Harm is only evil if God exists. And so you're
There's harm.
What? Then how come people who don't believe in God can still recognize harm as being evil? We can all collectively empathize with human beings, human suffering, and recognize if another human is inflicting intentional, consistent pain on another person, we could recognize that thing as being evil because we have the ability to empathize. This is like the psychotic Christian thing. The like, well, if God didn't exist, I'd probably be a murdering racist. But, you know, thankfully the Bible, hee hee.
Or not.
Thank you, Mav. You're not interested. Thank you for coming. I appreciate people coming here who have a different point of view, but it's got to be a dialogue. It can't be a monologue. And I think that, yes, people who identify as LGBTQ have been treated poorly. But I also think now that Christians are being treated poorly. And both of them.
That's whataboutism? What does that have to do with where are Christians, at least in America, being treated poorly in mass, like on a massive scale? I can point you to Republican legislatures that are trying to pass certain laws to hinder kids struggling with gender dysphoria from even seeking treatment or anything to try and alleviate that pain. Okay, I can give you examples like that. Where is this happening for Christians in America? Sure, Christians are treated poorly in some other countries, that's true. But America? Christians remain one of the most privileged religious groups. So quit trying to play victim.
We ought to respect people even if we disagree with them. But that's a moral category.
So he's going to keep on going back to this. This guy, I think, is a presuppositionalist. This isn't the final boss of Christianity anymore. This is the final boss of schizophrenia, okay? When you come up here and say, hey, God exists, I have to presuppose that God exists in order for everything to make sense. Okay? So therefore God exists. You can't reason with these people. The minute you say, well, hold on, I don't presuppose God exists, but I still think that I can reason certain things. They say, well, you might not say that, but deep down inside you actually do believe in God because God gave all of you knowledge. That's usually how these conversations go. I argued with a presuppositionalist for like an hour straight. And it was basically an endless loop of that. And yeah, usually people like this cannot be reasoned with. He's assuming that everything needs to be from God.
And respect only makes sense as a moral category if there's a moral standard beyond us.
No. When you're respectful towards other people, it's more likely they'll be respectful back to you. The more that you kind of cultivate respect towards other people, at least just general decency, like respecting someone's identity, for example, right? When you are kind to people, then it's more likely they'll do that back to you. And that generally cultivates a more positive society, which again is better for all of human well-being. I don't want to go outside and get yelled at and told that I'm a piece of shit by my neighbor. Okay, I would rather have a respectful, kind neighbor. And when they're respectful and kind to me, well, that makes me want to be respectful and kind back to them. And when you have people that are more respectful, more kind, you cultivate more community building, which is also incredibly important for humans' own well-being. When you spread kindness, positivity, and are generally respectful, it cultivates a more positive atmosphere and a more beneficial atmosphere for all of human society. This contributes to maximizing human well-being. So I can argue this purely from a secular worldview, again, without arguing it from the standpoint of, but my Sky Daddy said.
Otherwise, everything's just a matter of opinion.
And you're certainly not using your opinion to interpret the Bible. Got it.
If somebody says gay is good, that's a matter of opinion. If somebody says gay is bad, that's a matter of opinion.
Sure, yeah, people are allowed to have whatever opinion they want. Then the next question is, why? By the way, I don't really argue that gay is good either. Gay is just, it's amoral. It's neutral. There isn't a good or a bad necessarily. It can be bad and it can be good. But if someone says gay bad, okay, why? Why are you saying this thing is bad now? What makes it bad? You can't just say, my God, because I think you'd also be able to say that slavery is bad too. But God contradicts that.
You have to have a standard. My question to anybody who disagrees is, what is your moral standard? If there is no God, there's no rights to anything. There's no Christian rights, there's no gay rights, there's no transgender rights, there's no human rights.
It has nothing to do with society literally being far more beneficial when people can live their lives freely and be themselves. Nope, without God, this is impossible.
It's just one person's opinion against another. And when we say we're atheists and we start bringing moral categories into the conversation, I'm going to ask, what's the standard you're using? It turns out
maximizing human well-being.
the standard stolen from God himself. And that's what I cover in the book, Stealing from God, Why Atheists Need God to Make Their Case.
I called it. Yep, he's a presuppositionalist. He's going to take the route of even atheists are relying on morals. And see, morality comes from God. How does it come from God? Because without it, it goes into oblivion. Nothing makes sense. So therefore, you need God. Wait, how does that prove that it's actually God? It's God, okay? You believe it too. That's his book. I just gave you a summary and I didn't even read it, okay?
I agree with a lot of stuff Mav said, that people have been treated immorally. But unless you have a
what is this B-roll footage? Why? What is this?
Moral standard outside of yourself that we're all obligated to obey, it wasn't really immoral. Do you see the point?
No, I don't. Your standard is a guy that said slavery was okay. I think that it's quite easy, actually, to reason that by benefiting human well-being and benefiting society, that has a roundabout way of benefiting you in return. So it's in your own best interest to try and better society generally, or at the very least, minimize your perpetuation of harm on society and other people. Wow, okay, well, let's see what else he has to say about the gay stuff. Frank's advice for a father struggling with his son's homosexuality.
My oldest son, David, is gay.
We're about out of time.
And
Go ahead.
we've had some great conversations. He's asked me some great questions. One of his really interesting questions was, so Dad, let's say I find a man who I love and we try and be good moral people and blah, blah, blah.
Stop,
We're good,
stop,
good people. I know.
stop. What does good moral people mean?
Oh God, here we go. Without God, you cannot have good and moral. Okay, so can I be gay with God? That's the next question.
No, when I'm talking to him, as soon as he starts bringing up a moral standard,
Yeah.
you need to say, where are you getting this moral standard from? And why do you think that's the purpose of life, to be good moral people? Where does this come from?
No, that's a good answer. Should have thought of that.
Because the more good and moral that you are, the better society is.
So I definitely will ask him that again. But he says he's done some research, and Barna does good research and finds that about 30%, maybe even a third, of ministers struggle with pornography.
Yeah.
Regularly.
Probably true.
And so it could be more. Those ones who admit it, you're right. So he says, what if I have this loving relationship and maybe we have sex once a week, which is sinful. He's read the Bible too. And someone who's...
You have like layers of the bigotry with Christians. You'll have the out and proud Christians who are just like gay bad, it's all a sin, you're disgusting, God hates you kind of thing. Then you have the like, I don't actually hate gay people, okay? In fact, I love them. I just believe that they are committing sin and are doomed to go to hell. And then you have another layer, which is I don't even think it is a sin to be gay, actually. It is merely a sin to express the fact you're gay and make love to your partner, despite the fact if they are an adult and it's consensual. So they take it from layers, right? It's either all bad or parts of it are okay, but this part's bad, or yeah, I guess you can be gay, that's fine, but the minute you actually want to be gay, well, no, that's a sin. It's all just a fucking cope. All of it is just bigotry. All of it is the flawed belief that this thing that does not cause a harm to anybody is somehow immoral because Sky Daddy, who also said that his people could get slaves, said that it was a sin. That's it. It's pathetic. I'm unimpressed.
a follower of Christ looks at pornography once a week. What's the difference?
They're both sinful, and they both should want to stop doing that.
So they should both want to stop doing that. So you should want to stop being gay. So remember the first question where it was like, Frank never said this, where he talked to you about conversion therapy? What do you think they should do if they want to stop engaging in love with their partner consensually who's also an adult? Should they seek some kind of a treatment to maybe try to stop? Should they maybe try to pray it away? This is all conversion therapy. This is so pathetic. He's actually a weasel. The other guy who questioned him was like, Frank never said this. He kind of did. You're kind of saying it right here, pal.
I don't think any pastor is going to get up and say pornography is a good thing and you ought to do it. But I do see some pastors now saying that same-sex relationships ought to be blessed by the church and by God.
Oh, no. I see nothing wrong with this.
For example, the Church of England is now saying that, and that's why Calvin Robinson got up and gave that great speech to counterpoint that. So we're all sinners. Everybody, Or no one's going to make it to heaven without Jesus.
So here we go again with the other cop-out, well, we're all sinners. No, there's actually a difference between somebody committing a sin and then saying that somebody being the way they are is a sin, or somebody engaging in love because of their identity, because of who they are, because of their sexuality, that is a sin. Their sexuality is an intrinsic characteristic of them, okay? So when you say that, well, we're all sinners, no, it's a little different. That's like saying, I think that being white is a sin. We're all sinners, though. I mean, I lie. You lie, right? We all sin. I just think that people are also, sinning when they're white. Just being white is a sin. We know that the research shows that there is a genetic predisposition when it comes to being gay, and there is hormone washing that takes place in the womb that heavily influences humans' sexual orientation. So we know that people are gay through no choice of their own. So it is an intrinsic characteristic of themselves, and you're saying that's a sin, just like everybody sins. It's a cop-out. These are not comparable.
Oh, well, what about this sin? Okay, yeah, that's another sin that's going to keep you out of the kingdom. Homosexuality isn't the one thing that's going to keep you out of heaven, because even if you do engage in homosexual acts, you've done other evil things too, right? Just like heterosexuality isn't going to get you into heaven, because whether you're homosexual or heterosexual in your identity, your claimed identity, you've done evil elsewhere. So why don't we just talk about good and evil to begin with?
Yeah, but when you're saying that one thing is evil, when it's a person's sexual orientation, that's the evil thing, then we can talk about that. But I'm not going to mince words when I tell you that I think you're a piece of shit. Not to mention, by the way, if we know that gay couples also adopt children at higher rates and are more likely to adopt disabled kids, then we also know that not only do gay people not do a harm when they're getting married consensually, and legal adults, of course, we also know that they tend to do a net positive for society as well. So to say that that thing is evil because my God said so, yeah, no, I just want to kind of call you a cunt and then laugh.
On evil elsewhere. So why don't we just talk about good and evil to begin with? And how are you going to have the evil that you've done atoned for? Do you want grace or do you want justice in the afterlife?
That's good.
Thank you to everybody that tuned in today. I hope you enjoyed me reviewing this guy. I did my best, okay?